Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ubuntu channel. This is Meet Your Wednesday, and not only the first Wednesday of the month of January, but also the first. All right, so Chaza, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening. Doing pretty fine.
Chaza, are you able to hear? Well, my day has been okay. Thank you so much. How's been your day?
Been pretty fine despite the issue at hand, the issue of connectivity in terms of electricity. ZESCO power cut.
Thank you so much. Don't worry, the Lord is with us and He will look us through all it. Our dear ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, we so appreciate that you're a part of this program. This is Meet Your Leaders on a Wednesday like this one, and I am your host, Lansani Banda, together with Chaza, as we are co-hosting this particular program. And of course, looking at the problem or the program at hand, we have load shedding, we have everything to do with power connectivity and the energy situation in the country. We have brought back to you, due to popular demand, Engineer Kaisala, who is the UPND's energy chairman, so that we can get to talk about so many things that you, our dear listeners and our dear viewers, are going through. Engineer Kaisala, good evening and welcome to the program. Welcome back to Ubuntu channel.
Good evening, Lawrence. Started, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, so great, our dear listener or dear viewer, remember that you will be coming through to us shortly on this program, as we'll get to share with you the studio link where you can join us live into the studio and share with us your comments, your view, or as well as just get to share with us what you think should be the question that we should ask, or the burning question that we should ask our dear guest this particular evening. This is Ubuntu channel and this is Meet Your Leaders on a Wednesday like this. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing load shedding. Of course, we are getting to look at Zambia's perennial nightmare. Of course, when we talk about perennial nightmare, we are looking at what are the long terms or the short terms in dealing with this nightmare, which is load shedding in the country. Engineer Kaisala, for people that are joining us for the very first time on this interview, please, let's get to at least shortly, not too much, but briefly, let's get to info. However, let's get to see if our media team or our IT section can be able to deal with the current problem that we seem to be having right here, to make sure that Engineer Kaisala, who is our guest this evening, to get to respond or get back to connectivity. Engineer Kaisala, are you here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. At first you are breaking, but now you are loud and clear.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. First of all, we do appreciate that you honored our invitation to come through on this program, as we are trying to look at the possible, possibilities or the possible connections that we're looking at in terms of load shedding. Like this evening, we are discussing load shedding as well as the perennial nightmare of Zambia's connectivity in terms when we're talking about energy sector. But before we get into that, let's get to let's get to look at you as a person before we get into the topic of discussion. For people that are viewing you, that are seeing you for the very first time on this channel, let's get to have them have at least that privilege of understanding who exactly is Engineer Kaisala.
Thank you very much. My name's Charles Kaisala. I'm the UPND chairperson for energy. This portfolio, I've been in this portfolio since 2017, when I was appointed by the president initially in 2017, and then in 2021 we had the intra-party elections, where we are electing the National Management Committee, the whole country. That is the threshold of about 70 of us. So I stood again under Luapula province because I come from Luapula, and I was number 35 on the list of 70 because the way the elections were being held was the person who gets the highest number of votes becomes number one. In the last election, the vice president, the vice president Mutarena Lumango was number one, and then up to 70, then that is your National Management Committee. And then according to the new constitution, the president was given the mandate to appoint each one of us into any portfolio, starting from the vice president up to the sector chairs. So in 2021, I was reappointed again. That was, I think, in February. I was reappointed to my current position as the UPND chairperson for energy. Now, where am I drawing my mandate? Maybe I just do a bit of intro, because political parties create programs and policies and shape public opinions. Once political parties win elections, they form government and its policies are implemented, which are based on a manifesto. So in this case, we are a political party as UPND. We won the elections. Hence, we need to implement our policies based on our manifesto. Now, UPND, just like any other political party in Zambia, is guided by the Constitution of the Republic. Alongside the Republican Constitution, the UPND has its own party constitution, which acts as a blueprint to guide its operations. So in this case, as I speak, I'm drawing my authority or mandate from Article 93 and 94 of the UPND Constitution as a person heading a specialized committee, in this case, the Energy Committee of our party. So I'm the official spokesperson for the party on energy issues. So I'm speaking right now as UPND chairperson for energy and nothing else.
All right. Thank you so much, Engineer Kaisala. Allow me to call you or to address you as Engineer Kaisala. Thank you so much for that, and we really appreciate. This is not your first time that you have appeared on Ubuntu channel. This should be your third or second time that you've appeared here. But looking at the problem that we have at hand, which is the load shedding issue or the energy issue, of course, this time around we're not looking at fuel as we have always looked at, but this time around we're looking at the issue of load shedding, which is 6 hours to 12 hours that has been divided into two. Quickly, engineer, allow me to pose the first question, of course, which I'll pose it in this as an expert specialized in generation of power in transmission of extra high voltage systems, what do you think ZESCO is or has been doing wrong in the management of the company for Zambia and people to be subjected to the six or more than 6 hours of load shedding? It's been years after independence of Mother Zambia, which is more of 50 years after Mother Zambia of independence. And you, as Engineer Kaisala, you have been working at ZESCO from 1985 all the way up to 2013, and then you are back at ZESCO as an expert in 2021 when the UPND won power. So let's get to look at an expert. Let's get to look at the transmission of high voltage system. Like, what do you think ZESCO has been doing wrong in the management of the company for Zambian people to be subjected to the 6 or more than 6 hours of load shedding?
Thank you very much. The question is very broad, so I'll also try to contextualize my response by stating that energy is key and is a critical input in every development process and affects all sectors of the economy, without which attaining development would remain a far-fetched dream. So now, I introduced first the UPND. Now, just like I said, after winning an election, we have to implement our manifesto. So because this is where we need to focus on before I come into the nitty-gritties of what could be the challenges that ZESCO may be, facing. So from the UPND perspective, the UPND energy policy is centered on creating conditions for the provision of safe, reliable, efficient, cost-effective, and environmentally appropriate energy services to all sectors on a sustainable basis. So this statement summarizes the UPND policy on energy. So where are we coming from? You see, this country has had its fair share of issues surrounding the energy sector. The first national energy policy, because you must differentiate the policy of the party in power and also the national energy policy, which is devised by the government, rather by the party which is in power. So in short, I just want to explain to you that the first national energy policy was formulated in 1994, I think under the MMD government, and then revised in 2008 and 2019. So the current national energy policy is the one which was revised in 2019. Now, this is what we are following, even we as UPND. So normally, as UPND in government, we are supposed to align our policy to the national energy policy, which is already being implemented by the technocrats under the Ministry of Energy. So now our energy is centered on, on promotion of optimum supply and utilization of energy at lowest economic, financial, and social environmental cost, consistent with the national development goals. So this revised energy should focus on diversification of the current energy mix in generation with shares of solar, coal, biomass, wind, waste, extension of existing transmission and distribution lines, and increase of electrification rates in rural areas. That's where the UPND, I'm just trying to anchor my message from the UPND perspective. And this, all what I'm talking about, is contained in our manifesto, which is in public domain. In fact, we have 3 manifestos. One is a full manifesto which describes everything that we are supposed to do. Like this copy. This one is a summarized version of the entire manifesto under the UPND. So, as a party, we have everything that was devised when we were in opposition to see that how we are going to deal with the energy sector. And we are cognizant of the fact of this load shedding. Now, what is load shedding? Or rather, load shedding is a situation when there is insufficient power generation capacity to supply the demand. Hence, the electrical system or the grid becoming unbalanced, which can cause it to trip out countrywide and can cause days to restore. So this load shedding is done countrywide as a controlled option so that you don't lose the whole national grid. So this is basically supply demand. So it's of a last resort so that we don't lose the whole network. So that's why we need to switch off certain area so that we maintain a balance between supply and demand. So this load shedding or load management is not new to this country. If you remember, in 2015, there was very serious load shedding. It's only that people forget very easily, where the government even engaged a ship which docked at Mozambique port of Beira to be able to supply our power, which was a very, very expensive power, which has even caused the current ZESCO date, which is in the tune of $3.something billion.
Now, engineer,
yes.
before I have a follow-up question, but before I get into the follow-up question, let me get to recognize my co-host Chaza, because the time I was introducing him, internet had checked him out. Chaza, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance, and thank you so much. It's good to be back here.
Good to have you, my brother. Now, engineer, here, Engineer Kaisala, here, I want us to deal with the current moment. But I know as we deal with the current moment, we have to go back, or we have to look back where the problem starts from. Now, I want to start the problem from where you were in the management of the company of ZESCO. I know that you've been working for ZESCO from 1985 up to 2013, meaning that all the problems that ZESCO has been facing from 1985 all the way up to 2013, when you were still part of management for ZESCO, and then moving forward to 2021, when the UPND won governance or won power, you were brought back into the management of ZESCO. What do you think is the problem that ZESCO, let's move it away from governance and everything. What's the problem do you think ZESCO has been facing from your time in 1985 to 2013, and then fast forward from 2013 when you were dismissed to 2021 when you were reinstated? Even up to now, you are still with ZESCO. What are the problems is ZESCO facing, and why are we still having this so-called load management or load shedding? What is the problem that ZESCO is facing?
I want to clarify something. I'm not back in ZESCO as top management. No, I'm just a board member trying to provide oversight functions to management. So that is my role. I'm not directly responsible for the running of the company, but we provide oversight And that's why I cannot competently speak on behalf of ZESCO. But to answer your question, maybe from the point of just as a person who have a bit of experience having worked in that company, here is a scenario. In, is it 1964, when we just won independence, what was the population of this country? 4 million. Isn't it? Somewhere there, I think it was under 4 million from the history and all these other issues. I mean, if you go back. Now, what is the current population of this country? Around 20 million. So there isn't anything that ZESCO as an entity has got a problem. No. You see, the problem is this. Every year that comes, the load, or rather the power requirement of the country increases by 3% of the total generation. So in short, I can put something like 150 to 200 megawatts. So every year, the demand rises to that level. So if you look, Kariba Dam or Kariba was commissioned in the early 60s, 1959, 1960. It was the only power station which was supplying power to Zambia. Then in 1970s, there was Kafue Gorge, which was brought on the line so that, you know. So the problem we have had is lack of investment in the energy sector by successive governments. This is where the problem is. It's got nothing to do with ZESCO. ZESCO is just a company which is operating this infrastructure called generation, transmission, and distribution. So whatever problems they can face, they don't, say they are the ones who are doing this, planning in terms of bringing your new generation on board. So to answer your question, ZESCO has got competent engineers. I've worked there myself, and I'm talking from a very, very, very informed position. We have the best engineers in that company. If you look, most of the people who are running the utilities around the SADC region and the Far East are our boys who are trained within the ZESCO arrangement. So some of them, we even had to recall them to be part of the current management at ZESCO so that they can, add value to our company. So to answer your question on ZESCO, there is no real problem. Of course, the problem that we have had over the years is political interference by the politicians, which we as UPND, we even put in our manifesto that there will be no political interference. ZESCO must operate as a professional entity so that they run that company without any political interference.
Engineer, having said what you have said about ZESCO not really being a problem, I'd like to find out then what is the real cause of this load shedding, because we've been told that water levels at Kariba are very low, and as a result, the issue of load shedding. But again, we have been hearing this rumor that has been going around that ZESCO has been exporting power to other countries in the SADC region. Kindly, clarify and confirm and probably tell us the truth about, the cause of this load shedding.
In the first place, yes, ZESCO exports and sometimes also imports power, depending on the situation. This is a situational arrangement whereby even we at ZESCO, it's only that you are trying to say, I don't go back to the past. But, to contextualize things in the right frame, I need to refer to certain past arrangement. For example, in 2015, where I referred to when we had load shedding, we had to import power from a ship which docked in Mozambique and also from South Africa. So, really, this load shedding comes when we have insufficient generation capacity. So the only solution when you have such a scenario is to import power from a neighbor who may have excess power. Okay, so in this case, the whole region, SADC region, there is no excess power. There is nowhere where you can import power. Because South Africa, where we used to fall on, right now they have even a worse crisis than us. If you work, they are, moving from category 4, 6, 7, 8, load shedding type, whereby it's the norm now in South Africa. Zimbabwe, worse, Malawi, same scenario. Malawi. So what it is this SADC region has got an entity called Southern African Power Pool. This one is an organization which regulates the trading of power between neighboring countries. So in each given situation, and our national grid is interconnected with these countries. So at each given time, we are connected to Zimbabwe. We are also connected to the DRC in the north. So what normally happens is there are agreements sometimes, especially that after we brought on board the Kafue Goji Lower, we had excess power. So really, if you have excess power, the only thing you do is you can, sell it to make good money, because as you may be aware, ZESCO has got a lot of liabilities which they need to sort out. So the good rate of exporting power helps cushion off the impact that ZESCO normally has in terms of trying to raise enough money to pay back the debt that we have accumulated over the years. So in that context, this export of power, yes, there are agreements here and there. But my take is, if you have a situation where we are now, definitely you have to revisit those export agreements, so that first you satisfy your local people, and then before resuming that export arrangement, when we have again excess power. So the bottom line is, yes, we have been exporting some power after we had excess power, but now because this low water at Kariba North Bank power station has translated into a deficit of over 600 megawatts of power. So which means we need to load manage our own people in this country. So I think that is just the simple way I can explain this load shedding. It's got nothing to do with saying, ZESCO is exporting power. Yes, we are exporting power, and we only export when you have excess power.
Okay. So engineer, maybe before I come to Chaza's follow-up question, here I have a question with me, where about you're talking about this load management and everything. When the UPND was in opposition, you together with President Hakainde Hichilema had solutions for the country in terms of this power outage, because I do recall back in the PF we had about 16 hours of load shedding, and President Hichilema was very vocal, not only on social media but on medias, to say that we have a solution for this load shedding. Are you telling me that President Hichilema, together with the UPND, the UPND administration, did not know what was at stake to ascertain the extent of the damage that maybe the PF had caused on the generation of power?
Like I said, there is no damage as such. It's just lack of investment and diversification of the generation mix. We knew this problem. That's why I'm telling you that from our manifesto, if you read our main manifesto on page 22, everything is itemized as we are supposed to do. Now, here is a take. Okay? If you go into government, I told you in my preamble that when a party wins the election, they form government. Yes, we formed government, and we are supposed to implement our manifesto. Now, here is the take, okay? When you go further, okay, let me give you an example. When President Hakainde was sworn in on 24th August, later on, I think a week later, he appointed his first cabinet, okay? Now, for example, Minister of Energy, Honorable Peter Kapala, was appointed, and when he went into that ministry, he was just alone as the UPND, okay? You hear what I'm saying? Now, they all set up there, if at all, 90% of that setup was pro-PF, and you saw how PF, according to their constitution, they were saying anybody who is supposed to hold those positions is supposed to be a member of the Patriotic Front. So, our manifesto, I may also pose a question to you. Do you think it can be implemented as we wrote it by people who are maybe aligned to the party that was defeated immediately after the election? No. And this is what we are doing right now. Our government, under the president, Hakainde Hichilema, is being frustrated by PF chaps in most of these institutions because they believe they will bounce back. I mean, you have seen the propaganda which is going on, you know. So that one must not be a thing that we should underrate, you see. So what we are saying, don't say we didn't. The manifesto speaks big words for us in all sectors of our economy. In this case, I get a copy of our manifesto and read on page 22. Everything is there. We even have emphasized in the summarized version to say we will end the load shedding. And the way to end the load shedding, because this load shedding is coming from climate change effect, where the rains have changed, okay, pattern, is to diversify the generation mix by bringing in other forms of energy in terms of solar, wind, biomass, waste management, etc., so that these new forms of generation complement the hydro which we have. Again, we have hydro potential in the north of the country, on the Luapula River, for example. An MOU was signed recently by the Minister of Energy with our colleagues in the DRC. So we have started, and let me emphasize the fact, energy issues or solution is not a one-day event. For example, hydro, for you to complete hydropower, it used to take 5 years, but with the technology now, it takes maybe 4 years, somewhere there. Solar, it takes about a year and a half. So we are just in power in 1 year. So really, with this frustration from the colleagues who are frustrating the efforts in these institutions, like everywhere there, that's why the challenges we have. Surely, within 1 year, what power station can you bring? Yes, on paper, these things are on. I'm sure from ZESCO perspective, there is 800 megawatts of solar power, which has already been, announced, so that it's just a matter of ZESCO will do, a certain portion. Then the other portion, ZESCO has to partner with some key stakeholders. Then the other portion will give it to the independent power producers. That's just ZESCO. Now there are a lot of other companies or entities around the world who are ready to invest in this energy sector. Now, this here is another problem. The bottleneck that goes with the process of, say, putting up a 50 megawatts solar plant in the country. Why should it take 2 years? Just the process or the procurement process. So this is what the president was talking about, to say we need to change the rules so that such process should just take maybe 3 months. Then we'll be able to bring in as much generation as is possible. And this government, the UPND, we need to sort out this energy crisis once and for all. You have seen the president, how he got involved after we had this load shedding scenario, which necessitated because of a natural phenomenon coupled with a generator which was taken out for maintenance by the independent power producer company, Mamba Coraris. So really, I don't know where this political rhetoric is coming, that we are not ready. We are very ready, and we have been very ready, because as the manifesto says, people, it's in the public domain, it's a public document, anybody can read it. It's there. We have written what we are supposed to do in the energy sector. But of course, I've talked of this, the few challenges that we have faced since we formed government. Hello?
Engineer, we do understand that the dam has been in existence for over 60 years, and it requires, maintenance. And according to the 2018 Zambia River Authority report, it was indicated that, it needs a budget line of, 294 million US dollars. Do we have the capacity, to actually pump into this project and have the dam, maintained or rehabilitated?
You heard what the president said. We have to do whatever it takes to sort out this energy crisis. But for your information, Kariba is a shared resource. It's not only Zambia who is benefiting from the Kariba Dam. It's our colleagues across. So this Zambia's River Authority is a company where we have representation from both countries, and the terms of reference, how it operates, is there. There is a council of ministers which runs this entity, which involves the Minister of Energy and Finance of both countries, including the other technocrats who falls under those ministries. So definitely something will be done to look for that money to make sure that the dam is repaired. Yes, we have what it takes.
Tapia's connectivity has been, a challenge. I was almost falling out. But, getting back to, a report over 2014 as regards the dam leaking. Is this true? And why is it that, it hasn't been worked on until this time? And we are still having, this challenge that is seemingly persistent.
Just like I said, we got into office just over a year ago. So these are things we are getting and learning about as a party in government. So definitely, the president categorically stated that we are going to sort out this thing. So definitely, I can assure you, the president is a serious person. And for your information, like in my preamble, I mentioned that energy is a critical input in the development process. And without energy, whatever parameters you can set to say we are going to attain our economy, we will be ABCD, will not be achieved because energy drives the economy of every nation. So I can assure you, my brothers, that the president is very serious. Right now, he's in Angola, trying to, to explore opportunities here and there to sort out the energy crisis in terms of petroleum. And in terms of electricity, he mentioned, how we went to Mamba and Kariba North. And the technocrats are on their toes right now to make sure that we work around the clock to make sure that this road shedding thing is a thing of the past. I can assure you that is our focus as UPND to end road shedding once and for all. Because this thing, like you have put in your title there, it's a perennial problem. It didn't start today. But like I've said, the biggest problem of this road shedding is lack of investment in the energy sector, especially the generation mix by our colleagues who held office before us. Because if at all they did something to invest in the renewable energy arrangement, we could have had the solar plants. But right now, solar energy, renewable energy, just contributing somewhere over 5% of the installed capacity. So really, this government is just in office 1 year plus. How do you expect us to just put everything in 1 month? I think people must appreciate this president has scored, and you just bring in a natural phenomenon to start judging him. Because if you can create another day for me, I will tell you 180 things that the president has done in 1 year, which has never been done by any president. Very unprecedented. And nobody's talking about it, the good things. You're just talking about road shedding, which is going to end anyway in due course. I can assure you, as a functionary of the party.
Engineer, thank you so much, for being elaborative on this issue of load shedding. But I've got two questions for you, or maybe let me say I'm representing the general citizens on two issues right here. The first one, which I would want you to answer immediately, and then the second one, I will probably ask you after when you answer the first one. Now, the first issue or the first comment that's coming through from the general citizenry is that the UPND government or the UPND as a party, the first time we experienced 16 hours of load shedding from the Patriotic Front, President Hakainde Hichilema was seen all over social media where he was saying that he has a solution for this load shedding, and he had it in the immediate state. Then also he continued to say, Chaza, if you can mute yourself, I would really appreciate. Also, President Hichilema, who is the current president, while he's then in opposition, also made a statement to say that when the UPND government is voted, or when the UPND party is voted into government, they are going to end load shedding as soonest as possible. Obviously, we saw in 2021 when President Hichilema won and sworn in on the 14th, if not 16th of August 2021, when he was commissioning the 1,600 megawatts of the Lower Gorge Kafue power plant. He said, as the UPND government, or as the UPND, we have ended load shedding in 1 year. Our plan, or how we ended it, he wrote out, a plan or a formula of how the UPND ended load shedding in 1 year. Then here we are, let's say months after that statement. Then a few days after his statement, or after his press conference, the last press conference that he had with the media, few days after that, we saw load shedding coming out after when he challenged journalists and people that attended his last press conference to say, have you seen load shedding? We've seen load shedding coming through. What, maybe putting it in simple terms, what is the UPND doing to see to it that this load shedding is a thing of the past? We shouldn't bring in the PF, we shouldn't bring in the UPND making promises, or the UPND saying we've ended this and that. What is the UPND doing in a long-term position to see to it that this load shedding issue should be a thing of the past? Even 10, 15, 20 years from now, we shouldn't say load shedding, but the UPND government from now has dealt with it.
You have asked a lot of questions in one statement. First, before I answer what we are going to do, which I've already, I think, talked about anyway, but I will just re-emphasize again, is the fact that, you see, let's not issue political rhetoric by especially our colleagues in opposition. You see, the president, when we came into office, yes, we ended load shedding, okay? So what, you see, we added to the national grid 450 megawatts of power by commissioning 3 machines at Kafuego Jiloa. Okay? Now, what did you want if the president says that? So what is wrong with him? There was no load shedding, of course. And even when he was speaking at State House, nobody was being load shedded. But you see, this time of the year, normally, water rises at the Kariba. But you see, dynamics have changed. Because if you go backwards, although you are saying, you see, there's no way you can talk something without referring maybe from the past. I think that one I refuse. The two previous years when we had the massive road shedding, that is in 2015 and 2019. The road shedding happened in August and September. Just go back to your history, or even anywhere. Just Google there when we just had the last load shedding massively. It happens in August and September. Now, this one is happening in January, because this load shedding started on the 4th of January. And the main reason was that we expected the water, because you see, we have hydrology reports coming from the Zambezi River Authority, that by this year, over the years, this time the Kariba Dam is supposed to be rising. Hence, we are not supposed to have a deficit of the power generation that we have now. Then, coupled with Mamba Coral is taking out one machine for maintenance. Sure, people can't understand that. They just say, no, load shedding has come back, and because the president said we have ended the load shedding, this is now something which has happened. For example, okay, my brother, suppose you have a fault on one of the power stations. Can you say no because the president says he has ended the load shedding? Because that is now a fault. It's like at your home, you have a funeral. Who anticipates any funeral? You can plan the whole year, no, that year I'll buy a car, I'll do what, I will do this. But if you die, are you going to buy a car? Those are what we call natural causes. So this idea of asking people, saying, you know, the president said this is just political rhetoric, especially by our colleagues, PF to be specific, because they are very bitter for the loss they had in 2021. They are still bitter, they are still reading from that thing. So that's what I can say. So please, any meaning person in this country understands if we say there is low water in Kariba. What else do you want to say? No, because the President Akainde said that. And let me just go back a bit. Don't cut me now. You see, when we were campaigning, our campaign was based on saying PF did not invest into the energy sector. That's why we are attacking these guys. Because if you look, like I've said, they have not invested. And it's a fact. That's why we have this crisis. So what are you saying? We used to say, yes, we used to criticize our colleagues because they never invested in renewable energy. Okay? So that they can complement the hydropower, which is now at risk because of the climate change effect. So this idea of bringing in the president every time, I think it's just a political rhetoric. And I think anybody who understands this situation who just is even tired now to listen from such kind of accusation.
All right, engineer, thank you so much for that. Before maybe I bring back Chaza, I know I'm stepping on his toes, but here's the thing, engineer. From what you're explaining and what's obtaining on the ground, there's a little bit difference here. President Hakainde Hichilema mentioned to say that we have a leakage at the Kafue, at the Kariba Dam. We have a leakage, and then a day later, we saw ZESCO board member who was there on Hot FM or on another media, which is Hot FM, where he was compelling to say that actually we don't have a crack, or neither do we have any spilling over, but we take responsibility as ZESCO management board that we lied to the president. Now here, is this politics at play? Are we seeing politicians doing politics and other people, or maybe professionals, coming in to take the blame here? Because ZESCO board member was supposed to tell the president the truth on the issue about this load shedding or the Kariba Dam issue. And maybe sufficing from that, in 2017, the Patriotic Front, which is the PF, got a loan from the World Bank so that they can deal with the crack which was noticed at the Kariba Dam. And here we're talking about the plunge pool, which whose photo has been taken the most, to say the plunge pool doesn't have water, when that is an area where the PF started, you know, their rehabilitation works. They shut down all the holes that can pump water into the Kariba Dam. Here, who is at fault? Who is playing politics? Is ZESCO management playing politics? Or maybe the president here did not know what he was talking about when he said there's a crack or there's a hole somewhere in the Kariba Dam.
Like I said, I'm speaking as the UPND chairman for energy. I'm not in government, and I'm not competent to comment on what you have said because there is a government in place. Me, I'm just a chairman of energy, and my main interest is policy direction of this energy sector. So if you talk of the president about what statement the president made and what body chairman Vixon Inuve said, I'm not competent enough to comment on that because as a government, you have departments like the Minister of Energy. There, they run the energy sector. They implement the policies that the party, formulate. So those are the people who can answer that question competently. Me, I'm talking about what we prepared as a party to make sure that when we are in government, we sort out the energy crisis that the country has been going. And you see, I didn't answer the question when you said, what do we need to do to sort out this energy crisis? The answer is very simple. It's simply more generation of power and also diversification of the generation mix by bringing in other forms of energy generation. For example, solar, wind, biomass, waste to, that even waste you can generate power. This waste we have in Soweto there. There is a project which is at, it's in the process, where in Ichongwe there's supposed to be a waste management type of arrangement where that power plant will be for water as well as energy to a tune of 500 megawatts plus. So all these things, when they come on board, there will be no load shedding. So the solution is already on the table. But people, I don't know what they want to hear because the president has said we are going to bring more generation. That's the bottom line, and that's the answer to sorting out the road shedding issue. And even bringing in more hydro in Iruapula, there the rivers don't dry like in the southern part. So we have, I told you that this government, through the Ministry of Energy, have signed the MOU because Luapula is a shared resource between DRC and us. So there's no way we can put up a power station without our colleagues being involved on the other side, just like the Kariba. So there we have to develop three sites, I think, Mumbotuta, Falls in Milenge, and Mambirima, 2 sites in Mwense district. Then we have also Kalunguishi, somewhere Kalunguishi. I think the president always talks about that, a potential of about 400 megawatts. So if we just harnessed all this potential that we have, there will be no load shedding. That's why this country, we are strategically positioned to be a trading hub in energy, electricity for that matter. Because if you see everybody wants electricity, Zimbabwe, they have a problem, South Africa, Namibia, Angola, DRC, in Katanga there. So that is what we are doing. And give this president another 2 years. These people who are mocking you about road shedding will be shamed. That one I can assure you. Because we have sufficient generating capacity whereby people will even forget about the way the road shedding.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Kaisala. Our dear viewers, you are watching Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel. And of course, our guest this evening is UPND's chairperson for energy, Charles Kaisala, who is elaborating more on the issue of load shedding. Now, before we get to engage you, our dear viewers, let me get to bring about my co-host, Chaza. Chaza, please go ahead with the question or a follow-up that you have. And then after that, we get to engage our viewers right here.
All right. The engineer has actually, tackled most of the follow-up questions that I had in his explanation. So I won't be fair, to actually take him back, as regards, those issues. But I think, like you have indicated, for now, we can invite those of us that are joining us in the studio, and also those that have dropped their comments. We can read them out just here. You are on mute, Lance. Your mic is still on mute. We cannot hear you.
Okay, sorry for that. There was a mishap here and there, gadgets and internet. Our dear viewers, remember that you can come through via comments. Engineer, you're laughing at me. All right.
You can hear baby crying there. Is it in your home there, Lance?
All right, so our dear viewers, remember that we have shared with you the studio link. You're at liberty to join us into the studio. Simply click on that studio link, make sure that your camera and mic is on, and we'll be glad to hear from you or to get your comments, your view, as well as your question for our studio guest. And I think in the studio I saw Rhoda. Rhoda, are you still here? Director, do we still have Rhoda in the studio?
Still here. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Rhoda. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Chaza? I mean, Lance. Sorry.
I'm good,
I'll blame
thanks.
that
How are
on
you?
technology too.
All right. So you can ask your question, express a view, or share a comment with us.
Yeah. Good evening, engineer. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Yeah. Thank you so much for a very good, elaborate explanation. I'm going to ask a question from somebody who literally doesn't know anything about engineering and electricity. So I probably will ask 2.5 questions. Sorry. So my understanding from your explanation or comment is that once we have lower levels at Kariba, we simply cannot generate electricity. So the question is is there a way that this can be resolved? Is there a way of like remodeling to get to produce on lower levels? I am assuming it's not, because you need the water to kind of push your things to go around and produce electricity.
Yeah.
Can I ask all the questions? Then you'll probably be able to give an answer in one.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other question is like, because you were talking about at some point we have higher levels of water and obviously we produce excess and then we then end up with a deficit. Is there a way that we can save power, or is that an impossibility? Do you know what I mean? Like we do in Mazabuka, I say we build the butala and put the maize in there for when, like that kind of a thing is my next question, because really from my understanding, this will be happening every year. We have loads, then we have none. And a good parent always says, I'll save for the rainy day, so to say, literally. Is my second question. And the other one is literally, in your professional opinion, because I've really got faith in our government to try and resolve this. If we have proper investment in this, how long do you think it will take before we can say this is a thing of the past? With the correct investment, obviously, in the energy sector, specifically electricity production. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Question. Please, engineer, go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you very much, Lance.
Yes, please.
In terms of level, unfortunately, the way the dam is built, if the water level reaches a certain point, then there will be no generation of power, and there is nothing that we can do. You have to just wait for the for the level to rise again by, you know, the inflows that are coming from the Zambezi River and its tributaries on the other side. Because you see, if you look, unfortunately, the Kafue River joins the Zambezi after Kariba. So if Kafue maybe was joining before, you know, could, you know, harness that water also, you know. That's why our colleagues in Mozambique, Kaholabosa dam, is also on the Zambezi River, but they have more water because there are a lot of rivers flowing into the Zambezi, that is Luangwa and also Kafue. Now, in terms of saving power, unfortunately also, you see, as you generate the power at Kariba or Kafue Gorge, you have to use it. So if the demand is low, the only thing we do is we don't generate, we generate what is required. So you can reduce the generation so that you just, you know, supply the load that is, like at night. At night, most of us, you are not using the electricity. So even when we have excess, the generators are run at a certain level so that you don't go into overdrive and you overuse the water. The only technology you can save power is solar if you have batteries, but it's very expensive. It's a very expensive thing if you couple the solar arrangement with the batteries. You have seen this solar thing that at night maybe it's working. I think even in your home you have to have batteries for you to be able to have power. Now, how long it will take? I can roughly say within 2 years of this government, I think there will be no load shedding. And I know the technocrats are working around the clock to do as much as possible in order to sort out this thing. But I think within a year, within 2 years, I don't think they will be talking about load shedding. But even maybe
engineer.
Sorry,
engineer.
Yes.
Engineer Kaisala, I would love to put you on record. Are you saying that after 2 years from now, that's when load shedding will end? That's when the UPND government will end load shedding and vantu va Zambia vasale kukamba palinkanya load shedding 2 years from now? This is 2023. Are we saying 2025 load shedding ni shikulibe Zambia? Let me put you on record.
Yes, you can. I think you put me. There will be no load shedding, maybe even a bit earlier. But as a technical person who believes in shortcomings here and there, I put it at 22 years from now.
Yes, 2 years from now is 2025, engineer. 2025, Zambians will not experience load shedding.
Yeah, of course, we can have a bit of climate change, but
engineer,
I can assure you listen, Lance.
Engineer, I want you. Let's put it on. I would like you and I to put it on record. 2025, Zambians will never or will not experience load shedding. Are you putting it on record?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, engineer. We have Wellens in the studio. Wellens, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Lance. Am I audible enough?
Very much audible. Would love to see you as well.
Sorry, my camera is not modern enough to give you a picture tonight. I'm just very yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem. Please go ahead with your contribution as well as comment on our topic of discussion.
Thank you. Good evening, engineer there.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a few questions, and my concern is, does it need the president to come in to advise when we have engineers like you and other people who have been working in this for a long time? instead of advising president to say we are doing this, we need the funds to have solar, to have mamba quarries machine to be maintained. Does it need the president to go around when you are there? Are you incompetent? One. Secondly, why? Because we had this load shedding with PF. What did we do when we started having this load shedding to prevent it happening in the near future a big time? Because now it's like we are experiencing it a big time or more than when we experienced it with the PF. So what did we do that time when we actually started experiencing it? Because my concern is like we are not proactive. We are always reacting, which is not good for the business. It's not good for economy. It's not good for the people of Zambia. Not good for you as well, because it's now we are actually pointing a finger at you. Like, are they incompetent? Are they the right people actually in the office to do this job? Because it's like nothing is happening. We are only told that from 6 hours, now we should 12 hours load shedding. That is nonsense. We are not interested in that. We are interested to hear to say from 6 hours, we are coming down to 3 hours, not 12 hours. What are we going to do in 12 hours? What about the hospitals, the maternity wings, people with the kids who are depending on electricity? What are they going to be doing in the rural areas where they don't have generators? So lives will be lost. A lot of things will go rotten. So all those things we should have done something. Zambia, we have a lot of resources. We have solar. We have a lot of rivers. What have we done in the past when we started having this load shedding? Thank you.
Wellens, thank you so much. We really appreciate your two questions. And engineer, before you respond to Wellens, maybe just an addition to Wellens's questions. Okay, maybe before I add an addition, please take note of the two questions that Wellens asked. Right now, we are joined by Lawrence Mulungu in the studio. Lawrence, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance. Good evening, Chaza, and obviously Engineer Kaisala. Good evening to you too.
Evening, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please go ahead with your comment, question, or expression of a view.
Okay. I, for one, believe that every 5 years we go to the elections to vote for people, not to explain to us problems, but to find solutions. And it's one thing that we always look forward to. Unfortunately, I think somehow the UPND could keep shooting themselves in the foot by always, anything that happens, we are referenced to PF. Anything that happens, it has to do with PF. And we are already over 1 year in office with UPND. And in that extent, I say, as a party, you can do better. The headlines of it's because of PF, it's because of PF, they have become so boring and irritating right now. And this comes to the same issue of electricity, where I think I had the advisor to the president say something like, "We've not had investment in this sector for over 60 years," and I would say somehow it is not a correct position, but I leave it at that. But in other words, we are saying that we are in this situation because of the past, what people in the past did not do, and things like that. But we had this problem, and our president was one of the very much biggest critics of PF when we had this same crisis, which is not even as bad as it is now. And the president is very much on record saying how unacceptable it is, how this or that it is, and all that. And today, the same party wants us to take this, which is even worse, as acceptable, which is not good. I think we need to come to a situation where we are talking solutions now. and not explaining problems every day. Water levels, water levels, water levels. I think every common man understands that. At this point in time, let us start talking. Start talking solutions. In the meantime, we have this situation. So going forward, we are to in the midterm solution is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We have colleagues in Namibia who are importing power from us. They have a crisis there, but their government has done something by importing power from us. While us, we have a crisis and we are selling to them. There's no mathematics that is adding up in there. Their government came up with a solution to say, to protect our people, we are going to import from Zambia, who also have a crisis, and they are selling to them. And us, the only solution we have right now is no, we are increasing from 6 hours to 12 hours. I think there is a big difference in leadership there. I think I end there. I would like to get a comment on that.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Our dear viewers, remember that when you come through, you only have 60 seconds to express your view or to ask your question. Let's stick to time so that we may be able to reach to as many people as possible. Engineer, from the two, or in fact, from the three questions or concerns that have been raised, I want to add two more. One, or maybe before I add mine, please get to respond to the three concerns that have come through from our two viewers. Two from Wellens, and the other one coming through from Lawrence. Engineer Kaisala, over to you.
Thank you very much. The first was why the president involved here. Are we incompetent? You see, like I said, energy drives everything. So when you have a situation like that, the one we have, the president was just trying to show leadership because it's affecting everybody in the country. So I don't think it has anything to do with incompetent, because I've explained where we are coming from. Sometimes people must also listen when we are explaining. When we say lack of investment, it is a fact. I mean, if the people were in office, and this lack of investment is in the renewable energy, the optional energy apart from hydro. Yes, hydro we have put in a lot of investment. That's what we are saying. You see, that's the difference to say. In hydro, yes, we have invested because we have been endowed with water in this country. But now, because of the climate change, we need to do a diversification. That's what we are saying. When we were campaigning, we emphasize that. And that is the solution President Hakainde Hichilema was banking on. But I think I've explained that even within the system, after taking office, you can't just remove everybody, all the technocrats or the civil servants. We remove to say these are PF, we bring in whatever. So we thought the civil service is professional and they should work and follow the new government. Like I emphasize, when a party wins the election, they form government. We form the government. But unfortunately, some people are not towing our line. That's why even good things that the president has brought, like CDF, it's not being implemented properly because some people are frustrating that effort. So that's why the president had to come in just to show leadership and give confidence to the nation about the way forward on this energy crisis that we are in. Then in terms of importing, you see, I've explained that there is no extra energy in the region. And allow me again to just go back. When PF had this crisis, they were importing from a ship in Mozambique. I've explained that. That ship was available and they were also importing from ESCOM South Africa. So that's why maybe their problem was not noticed like ours. But even us, this load shedding has only been there from the 4th of January. It's not even over a month. But I think if you recall, the PF, it lasted quite longer. And as we are doing everything possible to make sure that the hours reduce from the 12 that was announced. Then to give up to alleviate this road shedding, the only way we can say is to just bring on board other generation, forms of generation apart from hydro, so that we sort out this problem once and for all. Our colleague, the second person, talked of when we are voted to solve the problems. Yes, I mean, even when I was reading from our manifesto, that is our focus. But you can't, again, just rule out to say everything will be rosy. Because you see, the people and the way PF has been working, their effort is to frustrate this government. The people who are in those critical positions, that's what they are doing. It's the plain truth, unfortunately. And then this lack of investment, again, I've emphasized that it's in the renewable energy sector, like solar and what. We haven't invested there because that's the only way we can complement the hydro generation if we have a catastrophic situation like the way the Kariba water has gone down. Because then we will fall on the solar and the wind and the waste energy, which I've talked about. So this thing, you can't just say no, 60 years lack of investment. Yes, because we depended so much on hydro and we thought we'll never have any effect on climate change. So hence we just invested. And of course, hydropower is the most stable power anywhere, So now I know that we need to do something. So as a party, we promised to bring in renewable energy. And this is not a one-day thing. And I can still stand by my statement that after 2 years, this thing will be a thing of the past. I think that's how I can respond to my colleagues.
All right, engineer, thank you so much for that response. For now, let's get to engage viewers that are watching us from different platforms. And then after that, we get your closing remarks, as we know that time is not of our best essence or our best ally. This one comes through from Mulungu Ruben Jerome, who says, what's the UPND manifesto on energy? In brackets power, and is the government implementing the manifesto? Because we are now seeing the president has come up with a task force to come with the situation to come up with a task force to come with a situation instead of just opening page 22 of your manifesto. All right, so it seems like Ruben Mulungu knows your manifesto. It seems like he knows what's on page 22 of the UPND's manifesto, but obviously his question is the government implementing the manifesto apart from the president coming up with that task force on energy? Let's get to read the other comment that's coming through. Thank you so much, director, for this one. Let's get to go through to another message that has come through on our page. Director, let's go through to the next message. All right, so maybe in the inbox here, I also have a message coming through from Rhoda again saying, is it possible to remove politics from ZESCO or the energy generation? Is it possible for ZESCO? Is it possible to remove politics from ZESCO or energy generation? All right, director, let's go through to another message. Engineer Kaisala, hopefully you are writing or you are taking note of the questions that are coming through. If my director is not ready to display the messages that we have received, perhaps I can go direct into the inbox and read what is there. Engineer Kaisala, please take note of this. We have Laura Munamonga who says, good evening, Engineer Kaisala. You spoke of ZESCO being affected by political interference. Kindly elaborate more. What do you mean by that statement? Laura, thank you so much for that message. Engineer, allow me to read three more messages and then I allow you to respond. But please bear with me, just take note of the messages. The next message that is there in our inbox is coming through from Chibonta Jule, who says, is it correct to say that ZESCO management or engineers misled the president in that they should have foreseen low levels at Kariba waters since this happens annually? It seems like poor planning to me as a layman. All right, Chibonte, thank you so much for this question. Then we also have Chanda Miyowa coming through to
Uh,
say, engineer,
Lance,
engineer, are you able to?
maybe Lance, are you getting me?
Yes, I'm able to get you.
Okay, yeah, maybe I can read a few of them.
Okay.
Then engineer will take it up from there. Okay, this one is coming from Lawrence Mulungu, who is actually saying, is it safe to say by the president while in opposition, disparaging the reality of load shedding? Another one saying, is the party happy to sell electricity while our businesses collapse? Lance,
Okay, Chaza,
are you there? Are you getting
engineer,
me?
sorry, Chaza, I was getting you in parts. Engineer, were you able to get Chaza correctly?
I think I did the first one, not the second one.
Okay, so Chaza, please kindly go through.
Okay, so the second one is saying, okay, the two messages that came from Lawrence Mulungu are saying, is it safe to say the advisors are behind the statements made by the president while in opposition, disparaging the reality of load shedding? The other one says, is the party happy to sell electricity while our businesses collapse? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Lance,
Yes,
are
we
you
are
there?
here.
Are you getting me?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, we're
okay.
able to get you.
All right, beautiful. Another message here coming from Chanda Miyoba is saying, engineer, what message do you have for a youth out there like me who's running a salon, barbershop, welder, or restaurant, etc.? Because these businesses are affected by these 12-hour load shedding schedules. Some of them are running on the CDF scheme and other loans which will still have to be paid back. All right, another one here coming from Soja Boo Enoch Tonga. Is it possible to look at other water bodies for power generation and forget Kariba? Kafiwe Gorge seems fine apart from the time we had the issue of weeds. Soja Boo again saying, why can't the people frustrating the efforts be fired? We need progress. Heads should roll. I think these are the messages that I can see with me here. Over to you, Lance.
Thank you so much, Chaza. Unfortunately, I've been engineer. Unfortunately, I've been load shedded. I'm now back in the dark. I have to switch off my camera. But please get to respond to the messages that have come through. We'll be glad to have our viewers and followers to understand.
Yeah, most of them were comments, but I can pick a few here where, which says political interference. What do you mean? It's you see where political cadres, where the people who are running the company in a lot of things, and then the company's integrity was compromised because it couldn't focus on its mandate, to save the people of Zambia. You are aware that some political cadres were employed and they were on the payroll of ZESCO. But under this government, the UPND, such a thing can never be allowed by the president. ZESCO engineers misread the president again, like I said earlier. It's up to ZESCO to comment on this. Me, I'm talking about the policy direction of the party. Lawrence Makungulu said the realities of road shedding. It is a known fact that as UPND we abhor load shedding. We don't like it at all. You can check. That's why I'm referring you to look at the manifesto, what we have written there. One of the statements, maybe I can read it here. Here it reads as follows, and I quote, "We will deliver affordable and clean energy through the implementation of an ambitious renewable energy investment plan that will improve the energy mix. This will reduce our vulnerability to climate shocks by leveraging the declining cost of technologies to harness our vast solar resources, complemented with wind and geothermal energy." Listen to that. It talks about what the vision we had, or we still have, and what we are trying to implement. But like the other persons, says, I think Chandamioga or somebody like that, he says, these people are frustrating the effort, should be fired. Yes, I think even me, I agree that these people should just be fired, because you can't have a civil servant whose allegiance is to a political party, because those people must work for the people of Zambia and for the country, despite which government comes on board. So people are asking, we are very ready. And you see, sometimes when you go into a situation like this, forming government, you find bottlenecks, like certain people who are still believing that PF will bounce back. Of course, this is not time to talk politics, because we have a mandate of 5 years, and the electorate will judge us on how we deliver. And you have seen our president is not even focused on the election. He's just talking about trying to deliver to the people of Zambia. And whatever he's doing, we will speak for him for the election. So we are not interested in people saying 2026 PF. So the realities of road shedding, we know about that. We're happy to sell power by road. This is, we only sell power when we have excess, according to the policy direction of the party. Yes, if we have excess, and that is what we want, because it will earn us the much required foreign exchange if we have more generation. And that's what we want to do. But you see, this is a situation where a natural phenomenon cripples in. At the same time, a machine is taken out by Mamba, Coralis, the IPP, because maintenance is also very important. That's why the president has to go to Mamba to get first-hand information, because we as engineers, sometimes there are certain parameters where we work. But as head of state, he had to go and put his influence on those people so that they can reconsider about action. So as head of state, he has got the mandate to do something on behalf of the Zambian people. So all in all, this is what I can say, that this party, your party, which is in government now, have got a robust energy policy, which, if implemented properly, will work towards solving all the challenges that we have in this energy sector, including the petroleum
Engineer,
subsector, which we haven't covered today.
Engineer Kaisala, we do really appreciate you being elaborative. Like, believe you me, the questions that we received from the public when we advertised that you were going to be our guest this evening were too much. And we can't cover all that in 1 hour. Hence the reason why we've gone all the way up to 1 hour 30. But again, we can't refuse our viewers or people that are watching us from different platforms. Let's just allow one more last question coming through, and then from that we get to wind up. And then please, engineer, assure us that you will be back on this platform or on this program. You will be back on this platform or on this program to respond to the many queries and many questions that our viewers have. Can you respond to that? Will you be back?
I'm a servant of the people. As a politician, that is my role to explain anything, especially as UPND chairman for energy. Like I said in my preamble, that is, I'm drawing my authority from the constitution of the UPND, Article 93 and 94. So I can positively tell you that I'll be available anytime you need me.
Thank you so much, engineer. Now, the last question that we had from you coming through from our viewer. This one is coming through from Trina Nawa Mulungu, who says, what is the short-term plan for this tragedy? Obviously, the tragedy that we're talking about here is the load shedding. 12 hours of load shedding, which has been put into two parts. What is the short-term plan for this from the UPND?
Short-term plan. Number one, you know that you as a person who is using electricity can also play a role. What I mean is switch and save. Okay? Switch and save. Let's avoid using this called incandescent bulbs. I think you know what I mean. We need to use energy-saving lamps. This LED, which uses much less energy. Even in security lighting, we must go the LED way, because if you look at these public offices like government offices, we have this fluorescent tubes. Those, they draw a lot of energy. So just by doing switch and save, and also not using geysers, we migrate maybe to gas stoves, and also switching off every appliance, because you see, if you put on a television, you switch using a remote control, it goes in standby mode, and you find maybe there's a LED light. That TV is still drawing some energy, some power. So you need to just switch off completely. Then you have saved something, some power. So in this country, we are not energy efficient, and which brings low productivity. Now, there is also another thing, maybe I'll be a bit too technical, but I think I can explain low power factor. You know, these industries which are springing up, like mining areas in Kalumbila area, if you operate on a low power factor of 0.5 and you are using generation of 150 megawatts, technically you're just using half of that power. The other power is just being used. It's being wasted. So that's why you hear something which we call demand side management. It's very cardinal. If all of us as people who are using this power implemented that, we can save 200 megawatts, and that can go a long way from mitigating the so-called load shedding. Of course, the other solution is to buy power from somewhere. But we don't have any power anywhere on the market. So the bottom line is, please, people of Zambia, the president has put, like you are saying, a technocrats together to look into the best way to mitigate this thing by bringing in solar power as soon as possible, because solar power may be even speeded up. It can be put even less than a year. So please, my people, this is what I can offer to tell you that we need to do our part as consumers of this electricity by at least also playing a part, so that you don't leave your bulb on. If you leave your bedroom or your sitting room, switch off that bulb, because you are somebody who need it. The person with the barber shop, like one of the commentators here talked of the youths who are running barber shops. We are with you, we stand with you, and we really sorry for this predicament that we are in as a party. So I think that's what I can say on the last question, Lance. Maybe just to add further as a close-up remark, to assure our people and give support to our president, because this man means well for the country. Let's not allow
Engineer,
people with bitterness in their hearts to just be insulting the president. That is taboo, because even where we come from, we don't insult elders. Maybe I can
Engineer
end it.
Kaisala, Engineer Kaisala, thank you so much for that, for being elaborate. Believe you me, I would have loved you to be on the program on because you're being so elaborative and answering positively to the questions that have come through. But unfortunately, due to time, your response to the last question that we have, I also take it as your ending remarks. Thank you so much. We'll knock on your doors again shortly, not so long from now, but shortly we'll knock on your doors, engineer, so that we can have the people to get
Lance, I've lost you. I can't hear you.
All right. I think we have lost Lance there, Engineer Kaisala. I think due to network challenges, but all the same, just concluding the program on behalf of Lance, we appreciate all the responses you've given and for your time, sir. Thank you so much for coming on to Ubuntu channel and just sharing your thoughts and ideas and explaining to us the current predicament we are going through. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. And may all of you gentlemen, I really appreciate for giving me this opportunity to speak to the people of Zambia. And to the people of Zambia, there is hope in UPND. There is hope in President Hakainde Hichilema. Let's give him the support. 5 years of his rule, I think you will judge yourself in 2026. Thank you very much, and may God bless our country. Bye.
All right. This has been Meet Your Leaders, and on this edition, we had Engineer Charles Kaisala, who is UPND Chairperson for Energy, and standing in for on behalf of the hosts, that's Chaza and Lance. Thank you so much for joining us on Ubuntu channel, and please stay tuned and see you next week on the exact program, right at the same time and right on the same platform you're watching us from. Good night.
Good night.